Today's topic for discussion is retarded potentials in electrodynamics. As long as we deal with static charges, the problem we have to encounter is very less, or the solution for the problem is easy. But when we move from a static charge or from a static current distribution to a time dependent fields or time varying fields, then the problem becomes very difficult. Okay. In any static situation, the charge density rho, the current density J, the electric field E and its potential V, the magnetic field B and its potential A are simply constants of time. So, or merely they are the functions of x, y and z, and they do not depend on the time t. But they do not behave the same way in a non-static situation or a non-static condition. In time varying fields, they behave in a different way. Here comes the retarded potentials in electrodynamics. The retarded potentials are the electromagnetic potentials for the electromagnetic field generated by a time varying electric current or a charge distributions in the past. We know the electromagnetic fields propagate at the speed of light in air, but the signal takes some finite time to propagate from one point to another point. That means the charge distribution, that is the point of the cause, takes some time to move to another point to realize its effect. So, the drag in the time or the lapse in the time are well explained by the retarded potentials. Let us write the electromagnetic potentials in free space for some arbitrary distribution of electric charge or current. In terms of electromagnetic potentials, Maxwell's equations can be written as del square phi is equal to minus rho by epsilon naught, del square A is equal to minus mu naught J. So, we all know the phi is a scalar potential and A is the vector potential. And these equations, these two Maxwell's equations are linear in nature. So, let us try a simple solution for by considering a charge element rho d tau prime which is situated closer to the origin, and then the solution can be extended to a general distribution by the principle of superposition. So, if you are considering a charge element near to the origin, means at every point except the origin, the scalar potential phi satisfies the equation. So, we know del square phi is equal to 0. This del is nothing but it is a D'Alembertian operator, and del square is given by del square minus 1 by c square into dou square by dou t square. So, let me put it in that equation, del square phi minus 1 by c square into dou square phi by dou t square is equal to 0. So, which will have a complete symmetrical solution. So, for this we can take the spherical polar coordinates. The reason for taking the spherical polar coordinates is the variation with respect to theta and phi are absent here. That means we can, the variations of phi with respect to theta and phi can be put equal to 0. So, considering them or putting them equal to 0, equation 3 can be rewritten as 1 by r square into dou by dou r into r square into dou phi by dou r minus 1 by c square into dou square phi by dou t square is equal to 0. Now, let us differentiate the first term by UV method. When we differentiate, we will get dou square phi by dou r square plus 2 by r into dou phi by dou r minus 1 by c square into dou square phi by dou t square is equal to 0. Let us try a solution of the form phi is equal to f of r comma t divided by r for equation 4. So, in equation 4 we have partial derivatives like dou phi by dou r, dou square phi by dou r square. Let us find those partial derivatives. So dou phi by dou r is equal to f prime by r minus f by r square. Dou square phi by dou r square is equal to f double prime by r minus f prime by r square. Again differentiating the second term minus f by r square, we get minus f prime by r square plus 2f by r cube. So and on simplifying, we get dou square phi by dou r square is equal to f double prime by r minus 2f prime by r square plus 2f by r cube. So in the same way, we can differentiate phi with respect to t. We get dou square phi by dou t square is equal to 1 by r dou square phi by dou t square. Now we have the value dou phi by dou r, dou square phi by dou r square, dou square by phi by dou t square. Let us put it in the equation number 4. So when we substitute, the equation reduces to 1 by r into dou square f by dou r square minus 1 by c square into dou square f by dou t square is equal to 0. So we all know 1 by r will not be equal to 0. So that means the terms inside the bracket will vanish. So dou square f by dou r square minus 1 by c square into dou square f by dou t square is equal to 0. So let us introduce some new variables. Xi is equal to t minus r by c and eta is equal to t plus rc. Now differentiating f with respect to r, treating f as a function of zeta and f depends upon xi and eta. So dou f by dou r can be written as dou f by dou xi into dou xi by dou r plus dou f by dou eta into dou eta by dou r. So differentiating equation 8a and 8b, so we get minus 1 by c into dou f by dou xi plus 1 plus c into dou f by dou xi. Again we are differentiating f with respect to r. So we get dou by dou xi into by c into dou f by dou eta minus dou f by dou xi into dou xi by dou r plus dou by dou eta into 1 by c dou f by dou eta minus dou f by dou xi into dou eta by dou r. So upon simplifying, we end up getting dou square f by dou r square is equal to 1 by c square into dou square f by dou xi square minus 2 into dou square f by dou xi into dou eta plus dou square f by dou eta square. So in the same way, we can find dou square f by dou t square is equal to dou square f by dou xi square plus 2 into dou square f by dou xi into dou eta plus dou square f by dou eta square. So the value of 9 and 10 can be substituted in equation 7. So substituting and simplifying, we get dou square f by dou xi into dou eta equal to 0. So this can be split and written as dou by dou xi into dou f by dou eta equal to 0. So in place of dou f by dou eta, we are writing capital F, or we can simply write dou f by dou xi is equal to 0. So from the above expression, we can easily find out f is independent of xi and it is an arbitrary function of eta, or simply f is equal to dou f by dou eta, or we can write it as f1 of eta. When we integrate the above one, we get f is equal to integral of f1 of eta into d eta plus some constant of integration. This constant of integration is nothing but it is some arbitrary function of xi. So we can write the general solution for equation 12 as f is equal to f1 of zeta plus f2 of eta. Again, this f1 and f2 are some arbitrary functions in terms of xi and eta respectively. We have already the values for xi and eta. Let us substitute here. So f is written as f1 of t minus r by c plus f2 is written as t plus r by c. So the equation 5 now becomes, our equation number 5 is phi is equal to f by f of r comma t divided by r. So we have the value for f as f1 t minus r by c plus f2 t plus r by c by r. So from the above equation 15, we have two parts here. So the first contribution to the phi at the field point r at a time t depends on the value of function at an earlier or retarded time. That means at the prior time. So whereas the second contribution, that is the f2 by r contribution to phi, depends upon the value of function at some later time or an advanced time t plus r by c. So the potential function f1 of r is called as a retarded potential and f2 by r is called as an advanced potential. The second contribution, that is the advanced potential, physically doesn't make any sense. So it describes the present behavior of a potential in terms of the future behavior of the charge. So on this grounds we can neglect the advanced potential and we can simply write phi as a function of f1 into t minus r by c by r, or the potential function. The potential depends only upon the function at the retarded time. So that's why it is called as an retarded potentials. The function given above in general represents a spherical wave traveling outwards from origin with the speed of light. But we have a denominator factor r there which diminishes the amplitude of the wave as the wave progresses. The proportionality is 1 by r times. As the wave propagates in the medium, its amplitude is diminished by 1 by r times. So this is how the wave behaves in the space. So here the phi is drawn as the function of r. So let us see here, at time t1 the amplitude is large. As the time goes, at later time t2, the amplitude of the wave is diminished. So the phi uh, varies as 1 by r times. That means as the time evades, as the time goes, the amplitude of the wave keeps decreasing. Now let us find how the function f1 will look like. So let us try a solution, or let us choose a value first closer to the origin. So let us choose a value phi is equal to rho d tau by 4 pi epsilon naught r. Since rho is a function of time, or we have already said this rho is a function of time, phi can be written as rho of t into d tau prime divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r. So all this is around as r approaches the origin. But at the same time, from equation 16 we know this t can be replaced by, or f1 can be replaced by, f1 is a function of t minus r by c by r, or this can be approximated to f1 of t by r near the origin. So we may identify f1 of t, this function, as rho of t d tau prime over 4 pi epsilon naught, with the result thus phi becomes rho of t minus r by c into d tau prime by 4 pi epsilon naught r. So this is for one particular charge near the origin. If we consider many sources, we can sum up them by the principle of superposition. By summing up means nothing but we are integrating it. So phi of r comma t is equal to integral of rho r prime comma t minus r by c divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r into d tau prime. So in the similar way, we write it for the vector potential also, which will also satisfy the same type of equation. A of r comma t is equal to integral mu naught j r prime comma t minus r by c divided by 4 pi r. Here the equations A and B can be simply written as, for our convenience we can write them as phi is equal to minus 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught rho by r retarded into d tau prime, and A is equal to mu naught by 4 pi integral square brackets j by r retarded d tau prime. Here this retarded, the suffix retarded indicates that the values of rho and j has to be given at a time r by c, before that at which phi and A has to be evaluated. So this is a simple diagram to understand the equations A and B mean at time t equal to r minus c, a moving charge, so that is a time varying charge, is a source of a spherical wave which propagates from the point A with a velocity of light. So this spherical wavefront passes the point P at a time t at an interval of r by c after the wavefront has originated from the moving charge. So that means a moving charge from A to P will take some finite time to reach. So if you want to see the effect, the charge should have emitted the spherical wavefront some time before the present time. So finally we can conclude that the electromagnetic potentials A and phi are propagated in space with a velocity equal to that of light in free space. At a given position, the potential changes with time, and also at any given instant the potentials are different at different positions. The present potentials at given positions are due to the past position of the charge, not due to the present position of the charge. This is what the retarded potentials convey. That is, the charge does not instantaneously establishes the potential. The potentials are related casually to the motion of the charge. If the charges are stationary and currents are steady, we can write rho by r retarded, that is, the square bracket represents it's a retarded potential. Rho by r is simply written as rho by r. The square bracket of j by r retarded can be simply written as j by r, and the scalar potential phi can be written as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught integral rho by r d tau prime, and vector potential A can be written as mu naught by 4 pi into integral j by r d tau prime. So all these are if the charges are stationary and currents, but if the charges are moving, definitely the retarded potentials play a great role.